So we have two sort of slangs here. One is called loony, the other one is called toonie.
Okay.
Loony is a $1 coin, and toonie is a $2 coin. That's a very Canadian thing.
Okay, is this about a thing?
Okay, so a boot is not okay. That first of all, I hate that American TV series have made it so stereotypical. Not every Canadian
Well,
says
my,
boot.
my reference comes from South Park. That's what I'm asking.
Right, right. Not every Canadian says a boot. Okay, it's a specific province, right,
Okay.
where they have that specific thing. But other than that, not everybody says that.
But A is very common.
A is very Canadian. Like, back in Malaysia, everybody used to say la, right? It's okay la, do it la, and all that stuff. So in Canada, if it's very cold, it's cold, eh? It's great, eh? So yeah, that's very very common. If you hear someone do a lot at the end, yeah, they're Canadian for sure.
We have this kind of thing, but like we have something called, we shorten everything. Like, for example, if we have cricketers, right? If even if his name is Pat Cummins, you'll call him Patty. Anything, you just add Y in the end
A
or
lot of
A in the end.
nicknames, yeah.
So for McDonald's, what we used to call McDonald's in Malaysia
Magdi,
was McD, right? Here is
Magdi, yeah.
Macca's.
What
Macca's.
Macca's?
Yeah. So I was really confused. Hey, where am I going? Macca's. Where the hell is Macca's? I don't even know where to go anymore.
Hi, and welcome back to NGT, guys. We hope you guys are doing great. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, do check out our previous videos where we talk about some of the latest products that came out this year, along with the ongoing tech trends. So we thought, before we get into discussion for this week's video, why not let's start by recapping what happened, especially for those of you who live in North America would know the kind of drama that has been unfolding in the past couple of days regarding Reddit and GameStop.
So one of the things that I want to say before we start is that, and I will say it again and again from time to time,
Okay.
phone is one of the best technologies in the world. You will hear me say it again and again, only because the capabilities of this thing nowadays. Think about it. Gone are the days when you used to stand on stock market floor and shout out numbers and
You're
stand
right.
there from 9 to 5 and actually do the trading. Actually, no one talks about money, how much they earned at that day, or any kind of similar stuff. Reddit has changed everything about that.
In a span of a week. That's
Yeah.
the funny part. It all happened and it all unraveled in a week's time. All right.
Just a little bit of context for everyone who does not know what is happening. GameStop is similar to a any game retail store which has consoles or games for sale. Nowadays, retail stores are going down only because we are so much online oriented, right? We download games online, we purchase online, we do deliveries, and post COVID was we are just doing it more, you know. So considering that GameStop stock price started at $18.
About a week and a half ago.
Yeah, a week and a half ago. Okay. And then now today, as of today, it's around what, $340? Yeah, somewhere around that. Explain a little bit what is short selling in general terms.
Okay. To explain short selling in the most simplest way, let's take an example of an iPhone. All right. So you have an iPhone that I decide to borrow from you for a small amount of fee. So I borrow an iPhone from you and I decide to sell it.
Yes.
Right. I decide to sell it for say $50. And I'm hoping that in few days the price of that iPhone would go down to $20. All right. And I'll buy it back. But the difference that is there between the $30 difference that is there, that would be my profit. So
Yeah.
after a few days, when I buy it back for $20, I'll return it to you, and I'll have my profit. That's pretty much that's short selling in a nutshell. That's what
Yeah. So
basically
for
is.
me, iPhone remains the same. Nothing changes for
Exactly.
me. But the
Exactly.
price difference is for you to manage that. And anything
Exactly.
that happens during this time, especially if it goes up or down, that's your problem, not mine. You
Exactly.
have
So
to
you
give
just
me
get back your
iPhone.
iPhone.
Yeah, you have to give me iPhone as it is, as I gave it to you.
hmm
That's basically what short selling would be, isn't it?
That is correct.
So few of the Redditors found out that some hedge funds
Mm-hmm.
did something of that sort. They
Yes.
borrowed these shares, predicting that the price
Mm-hmm.
will go down by
Right.
Friday. But before that could happen, they actually
Mm-hmm.
joined force on social media, which is the new era of trading.
Social change. Yes.
Yeah, a new era of stock market, you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they bought shares and increased the price to $300 to $400.
Right.
So when the time came for the sellers to actually buy the stock and the expiry date for that short selling was coming, there is an expiry date for that thing, right? It's like a
Mm-hmm.
coupon that is expiring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, by that time you have to give me my iPhone back,
Right.
no matter what the price is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these people, they had to buy these stocks at a higher $300 to $400 rate.
Right.
Okay, so the thing they paid only $15 for, while today is valued over around $340, and that's the big loss right there, because
Because they sold
obviously
a
you
big
wouldn't.
chunk of
Yeah,
stocks for a very low price, but now since they need to return the stock, they need to buy it for a much higher price, which wasn't the expectation because they were expecting that what they sold for 15, they would be able to buy it back for much less, a much smaller price.
yeah,
But that didn't happen.
exactly. So what do you think in terms of, because we are mostly tech people and come from tech background, we don't know much about finance in general too.
Right.
Okay, from tech perspective, it's nerds versus the whole Wall Street gang.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I would like
Mm-hmm.
say in simplest words.
Right.
Okay, so what do you think might happen, and what do you think about stock market in general? You know, the future of it.
Earlier, if you had to buy a stock or trade a stock or do anything with it, you would have to pay a small fee for it and you would have to use proper accounts for that. You need to have a trading account. But these apps make it absolutely very, very simple for you. Now, all you need is to do is to download this app and you have access to buy and sell stocks, which is one of the biggest trends. So I
While
think
sitting on a sofa.
earlier you only had traders and finance experts or people who had at least some idea about stocks, but now anybody with app and a little bit of an idea of how to go about it can make trades to it, right? So that on its own was a big changing trend now. But what Reddit has done on top of that, it has started this uh, at least in if we're talking about in the US, GameStop or yeah, GameStop basically at this point represents a class war between the two where everybody who uses apps like Robinhood and all these other apps represent this smaller community, this community of retailers, people who have everyday jobs, not these elite top 1%. The way market has changed, it has gone up and down in the last couple of days. It has tried to raise a lot of questions. It has gained a lot of unwanted attention. So I think this would start a lot of conversations about it, and it would lead to a lot more laws and regulations coming into it. At least that's how I see it, given how things have unfolded by now.
So talking about Robin Hood, okay, one of
Yes.
the first apps that came up during this Wall Street bets. That's the subreddit they're using
Hmm.
for the whole thing, and
Right.
that subreddit specifically has changed the whole game. Means there you actually talk about how much you lose, how much you gain. They actually
Hmm.
talk about money,
Hmm.
which is not very common in Wall Street. Okay, how much you're earning. People don't talk about that. But here it's
Right.
more like a social media frenzy meme kind of environment rather than more serious Wall Street
Hmm.
trading.
Right.
Okay. So talking about Robinhood, from there it stopped people from actually buying stocks. Okay, first of all, because from what I have read, Robinhood only gave one reason is that they were running out of the deposit lines that they have.
Line of
Okay.
credits that they had.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what do you think about that?
Legally, there's nothing that stops them from doing it, right?
Yes.
So they gave their reasons of why they had to do it. They were running out of line of credits that they had, and they had to cover their bases to it if something goes wrong. So legally and technically, they had the right to do what they did, right? Whether or not it was ethical to do so, or whether the reasons what they're saying are the only reasons, that's a different discussion. And but what that did is when Robinhood halted the purchase of all GameStop and AMC, and all GameStop, by the way, was not the only one. We
Yep.
had AMC, we had BlackBerry, we had Nokia. When
Yep.
it stopped you from buying more stocks, what that did is it aggravated people even more because that discussion was already going on of the top
The rich
1% against
class
the
and the
others.
poor class.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So that made that class war even worse.
Yeah. So the way it made worse is that once this became a thing, the banning stock became a thing. It went again
Right.
viral on Reddit.
Mhm.
Okay. Now these users went to Apple and Google to actually give bad reviews and take it down to 1 star, this whole 4 star app.
Right.
Okay. Then a few days later or a day later, we
Mhm.
actually hear that Google is removing these reviews to actually give it back 4 star.
Mhm.
Now, in that terms, because again, we are being controlled by the big tech, the whole app
Right.
is being controlled by the big tech in general.
Right.
Only Google has come out and said it that they have removed it. Apple hasn't said anything yet. Okay.
Mhm.
So, what do you think? Is it ethical for a company that big to remove these reviews? Although it is user manipulation, but technically we can manipulate any app we want,
Right.
right?
I mean, ethically, I don't think it was the right thing to do. But at the same time, the way Google defended it and what the way they have been going about it in the past as well is they've always maintained that any kind of review that doesn't talk about the quality of the app on its own, but uh, just directly deals with manipulating a specific user or their point of view about the app because of what the app stands for, that they would not tolerate. They have removed stuff in the past as well, and they were in line. And again, technically, they have the right to remove that. Whether it was the ethical thing to do, I don't think so. But they went ahead and did it because they could.
Yeah, so we can't really rely on these review ratings if Google goes and does removing negative although it considers it as user manipulation. People got together on social media and
Right.
gave negative reviews and brought the app down to 1 star. But
Mhm.
in the future, we see it happening more often with social media apps becoming more common. It can happen to any app, not only Robinhood.
It is. It is very, very strange and very weird. Because, but I think at the same time, another person can also make the argument that those ratings, for example, if you go and you Google, go to Play Store or App Store and you look for any specific app, right? It gives you a rating based on what the app is about, right? How stable it is, how efficiently it gets the work done. So Google's point of view, or anybody who would defend that position that Google did, they would normally say that the only reason why they removed these all these reviews was because the app on its own or any of its functionality was not wrong. It was still doing the exact same thing it was doing 4 days ago, but the company changed its position on something. So where do you draw the line where you would dislike an app because of what the company stands for versus what the actual functionality is? Right. So
So, for
it's a fine line
example,
between that.
yeah, so for example, we have Yelp for restaurant
Mhm.
reviews.
Right.
If the Yelp CEO tomorrow decides that he wants to give one restaurant better review than the other,
Mhm.
okay, how would we know that? In terms of ethics, it
Right.
comes really, it do how do we trust these companies now? Now they have done that once, wouldn't they do it
Mhm.
again?
Absolutely, and that's why I think it's not you cannot have an absolute position on this thing. For in this specific case, one can make an argument that it wasn't the reviews. The reviews were not for the app, but for what it was standing for at the moment, right? But in the future, I think this is something we would have to look case by case, and we can, as I said, we cannot have one firm position on it. But you're absolutely right. Application or firms like this should not take stance like that and decide for the user. It's up to the user to whether or not they want to use the app instead of the companies themselves telling people what to do.
So talking about trust,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to big tech companies, there's a real feud going on between Facebook and Apple.
Yes, yes,
Facebook saying that we do not like the privacy changes that are coming in the new update that is supposed to come in quarter two, which is your
yes,
spring and my
yes,
autumn.
Yes.
upside down.
Yes. And before you continue, can you just give a brief overview of what are those changes and why is Facebook so upset?
So Facebook usually tracks everything that you do on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from right down to the battery level to location, which website you're going to, what you have browsed, what app you have used, and accordingly they will target the notifications, the ads, and everything is tailored.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they
And when
use
you say Facebook is tracking, that's Facebook app and Messenger app, just these two
Facebook
apps,
as Messenger app, Instagram, WhatsApp, any the Facebook is the parent company and these are
right?
all child companies of
Right. But
Facebook.
WhatsApp still doesn't have all the accesses as we covered
Yeah.
last week
Yeah.
yet.
Till now WhatsApp does not have, but new
Mm.
privacy policy, as we said, might
Yep.
introduce this.
Mm-hmm.
And then again Facebook will be able to track all the WhatsApp data also. Or not
Mm-hmm.
only that, Facebook also introduced biometric authentication for WhatsApp desktop, which is
Mm-hmm.
another way of collecting the biometric data also.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook talking about privacy, that's just
Which is
that's just
what's
funny.
hilarious here.
Yeah.
Like you can see why anybody would have trouble taking them seriously when they have been one of the company which has faced a lot of criticism and bad press for not taking people's privacy seriously and playing with their data. So anyway, keep let's keep going with what's going on with Apple.
Yeah, so with Apple coming out this new update,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook will actually be restricted for the first time ever. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it will be restricted not to track you
Only for
at
Apple
all.
users,
Only
right?
for Apple users, yes.
Okay.
It's an iOS update and only for Apple users, but there's a big chunk of Apple users, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
losing that big chunk of data, that's not
Mm-hmm.
acceptable to Facebook. Their whole
Of
business
course.
relies on data.
Right.
Okay. So saying that and this whole privacy thing and data thing in general,
Mm-hmm.
because once Apple stops Facebook from tracking, the issue becomes that Apple has all the data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if it's hoarding all the data, they will provide services accordingly. The target ads from Apple will be
Mm-hmm.
more tailored towards you.
Mm-hmm.
Apple Music will be more tailored. Every service that Apple provides
Mm-hmm.
will be more tailored towards you. That's what Facebook argues
Mm-hmm.
against this change.
Right.
Okay,
But
they
wouldn't
are
they be doing the
saying
same thing?
exactly. Their
Right.
argument is that they are stopping us as an anti-competitive behavior, which makes Apple hoard all the data and tailor
Mm-hmm.
their experience accordingly and stop Facebook from using their data or their
Mm-hmm.
users' data, okay,
Mm-hmm.
for that purposes. Can be ads, can be personalized service, take it
Right.
from anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about Facebook talking about privacy in general and this whole is it right for Apple to introduce this kind of feature?
I mean, personally, I'm not an Apple user, but following up, following Apple for the last couple of years, I personally would be a lot more comfortable with Apple having my data because they have shown from time and time again that they are more responsible and they do take their customers' privacy more seriously. Yes, they would tailor the services, and they're still go in certain areas they would still be going over than what I'm comfortable with in terms of sharing my privacy and data. However, I would still trust a company like Apple a lot more with my data as opposed to what Facebook has done because Facebook, time and time again, has shown that they cannot be really trusted with data, be it the Cambridge Analytica incident that happened or the election issue and propaganda that has been happening in the past.
Yeah.
So personally, I'm on Apple's side in this case. I'm perfectly okay with losing Facebook services and completely relying on Apple for my personalization experience. What about you? What do you think? You are an Apple user, so
Yeah, I am an Apple user. Okay. Personally, what I think is that, okay, these changes are really good.
mhm,
Okay. Because obviously, you don't want any other app to track you when you're already with a company. Okay. With Android, a lot of app tracks you, not only
mhm,
Facebook. Okay. We have a lot more apps that have the ability to track you, but Android is improving slowly in that terms. Like
mhm,
it will allow you to give location now when you want
mhm,
it to, rather than give that location all the time. You get that
Right.
option that allow this app to track location while you're using only. So introducing this feature is, I'm excited about it. But then I also think that Apple, obviously holding all the data, has more power in terms of competition in the big
Right.
tech companies. Yeah.
Right. And you're absolutely right about that. And that's the part I'm still uncomfortable with. That yes, I can trust Apple more with my data, but still giving anyone that kind of power is not the best way. But I guess if it's between Facebook and Apple, I'll choose Apple's 7 days a
Yeah.
week.
So if there is a clone of me, it would come from Apple. Rather than, I would prefer it come from Apple rather than a company like Facebook, which is tracking from 4 different apps, from WhatsApp, from Instagram, and combining it together, to create that digital footprint of yours,
Right.
that that the kind of person that have existed till that point of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
all for it.
given how Apple release products, even a clone would be done better than how Facebook would do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be really interesting to see how it unfolds. So like as we get closer to Apple going in that direction and completely hoarding data from competitors like Facebook. So it'll be really interesting to see as we get closer to that day.
This week we have Tesla model redesign. Okay.
Yes,
And you saw that weird staring.
I loved it.
What's your
Absolutely
view on it?
loved
What
it.
do you think about it?
It reminded me of I don't know if you've seen
Formula
that
cars?
film, 2004, 2005. Will Smith came out with a film called iRobot.
Oh yeah.
It just reminded me of that. It looks amazing, and you know me, like personally, I love simplicity in design, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at the way they've done, Tesla has always maintained a very simplistic yet very attractive model,
Yeah.
right? But this time I think they've gone even ahead, and it looks even better than the last one. So I
Yeah,
personally love it.
yeah. Personally, I believe that cutting the top half of the steering is good in terms of it doesn't clutter the whole dashboard. That
Mhm.
is the main component of that car, because the aim of that car is more towards self-driving rather than driving yourself.
Right.
In if that's the direction they're going for,
Hmm.
in that term the design is quite well. But
Right.
then again, the right now the indicators are touch buttons, I think. Okay.
Hmm.
That might be a problem if that component fails. Okay.
Right.
So for example, you rely too much on this tech product, but first releases are always buggy.
Hmm.
Okay. Any bug at any time, because this is a serious issue when it comes to car, you're on the road, any bug can
Hmm.
affect you and anyone's life at that point, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, some design changes obviously I agree with, but I think some things still should be physical buttons rather than touch
Hmm.
buttons.
Hmm.
And then coming up with this 10 teraflop of power to play games on Tesla. So you really don't want people to drive. You want them to play PS5 level games.
I think they've already made that clear with self-driving capabilities, right? They really want people to sit back and enjoy the experience.
Yeah. Also, one of the things that Tesla has almost in every car is the wireless charging. Almost every car they have now. Even in the Tesla Model 3, the latest one that came, it
Hmm.
wasn't a redesign, but like more of refreshed version of it. So
Hmm.
instead of one wireless charger, they have included 2 wireless chargers.
And just to
Okay.
clarify, this is to wirelessly charge your devices, correct?
Yes. But exciting news this week from Xiaomi. We
Hmm.
have a wireless charger that does not require a wireless stand or cable.
Mm.
A
Okay. How
wireless
does that work then?
charger, a wireless charger that actually charges while you're walking. It
Hmm.
uses waves to do that. Charging speed is not the fast charging we are used to from current phones.
Right.
And that's only because it's a new technology, obviously.
Hmm.
But Xiaomi has stated that any physical objects just do not diminish the
Hmm.
power it transfers to these devices, and it charges multiple devices, not only phones. Something similar came out with Motorola, but the only problem with Motorola is it can be stopped with hand. While Xiaomi stated that even the physical objects cannot diminish the power of that.
Right, so you can have it in two different pockets and it will still work.
Yeah. So quite exciting technology. What do you think about future of wireless charging now that we have at least the introduction of where we are going?
To be honest with you, this, for me, what Xiaomi came out with now is the true, personally, is the true definition of wireless charging, because this is where you have completely zero contact. You have one device which is transferring those charging waves, and on the other side, devices are getting charged without any physical connection. So I'm really excited about it, and the fact that Xiaomi has started this trend, it means that it's only going to get better, because we have seen it with other things like the in-screen fingerprint. It was Xiaomi was one of the first companies to come out with it a couple of years ago, and now the technology has gotten far, far better. So I think them starting it is a very, very good sign, and I won't be surprised if Apple comes out with it in a couple of years from now.
Yeah, and you're right. The true wireless definition is right here. I did not understand when they used to say that, okay, this is a wireless charger, but you need a wireless stand and you need a cable connected to it, and your phone should be on the stand. So technically, the only thing that is not happening is you're not putting the cable in your
using
phone.
the sockets, correct.
Yeah.
But this is completely contactless, and it sounds amazing. I'm very excited to see it.
And one more thing that is happening this week is that the PS5 covers are coming back. A little bit context here. When PS5 was launched, this company comes out and with a name called PlateStation, PLATE. Okay.
Nice.
Now, really good play on words, right? But the thing is that Sony comes after them, saying that you're using the similar name as our console. I think as a startup company, they were not aware of the patent and copyright issues they might face. Okay, they started as a company, they started selling, but they had to cancel all the orders because they were not aware of the situation that might happen legally. Okay, then they went ahead and then rebranded themselves to call Customize My Plates. But then again, there was a patent issue that Sony, I think, because there are not much details regarding this. It's just speculation from people too who are writing about this. So Sony comes and says that you can't technically use the same place that we have made a copyright issue. So now finally they have come with the final website called CMP, which is short for Customize My Plates, cmpshells.com. Okay. Now these are the plates they say will have more ventilation than the current plates that Sony has built for PS5. Okay. And they said, like, they have a statement written on every order that all sales are finalized. We won't have any legal issues. We were not aware of it, which is quite honest by a company that is a startup, because obviously when you're starting something hard, you're not sure what you're doing. Okay, you learn along the way, which is what they have done. Okay. And it's going quite good for them because they're already on drop 3. Every drop has around 1,000 pre-orders. Okay, and they're going quick. They only had black color when they started out. Now they have blue, red, and ranging from 50 to 70 US dollars, depending on what kind of product it is. If you want for the remote control, also the vinyl stickers and the plates itself. So in terms of startup, okay, what do you think this company has gone the right way about informing customers that, you know, this is what happened, okay, and we were not aware of it? Or should they have done all this research before that this might happen, you know, and then go from there, avoiding the customer and legal fiasco that happened with Sony?
I think given the current space that we have of startups, be it North America or Australia for that matter, this level of preparation and preparedness is very important at this point, right? Because what that has done is, it has got, being a startup, you're sometimes really tight on funds. and finances. So this would have given them a big hit on that, because it doesn't matter to Sony. Like, they can have 10 lawsuits against them tomorrow and they will still survive that.
Yeah.
Not all startups can do that. So that's the first thing. And second, it for no reason gave them a lot of bad press.
Yeah.
Yes, in a lot of ways they came out and they came clean to their customers, which is great. But at the same time, they for no reason, it also attracted a lot of flack, which could have been avoided had they done more research. But I guess that's what startup is, right? You go on and you explore as you going through stuff. Okay, so before we continue, you need to tell me, what are plates? I haven't played PS5. I don't play games in general. So what are these plates?
So plates are something. So PS5 has these two plates that looks like a router. Okay. Have you seen the Linksys router, right? Back in the day, used to come like this.
Right.
Have you seen the router nowadays? They come this small. Okay. So back in the day, we used to have Linksys routers. They used to be like kind of curved plates around it, and there was something in the middle that had all the components of it.
Right.
So these plates are removable and customizable. And the video was released by Sony itself, how to remove it. And that's what plates are, I guess. And that's the startup. The startup name is right now Customize My Plates on Twitter. And their website is cmpshells.com. I would love people to check it out, because they are the only ones that are doing something in that space. And as a startup, I think they deserve it, whatever they have done till now.
100%. 100%. And for those of you guys who are interested, everything that we talk about here, we leave a link, a detailed link to the articles that we use. So if any of you are interested in finding out more about any of these trends that we're talking about or the products, do check the description, and we have a link for each of those articles. And if you have any more questions, if there's anything that you want us to talk about, do let us know in the comments section. I guess that's it for today.
Yep, that's it for today. We will continue this conversation next week with more tech trends and whatever is happening in that week.
And I'm really curious to see how the GameStop stuff unfolds, because it's still ongoing. It's not done, by the way. For anyone who's following, it's still unraveling, because now the law enforcements are involved. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of regulations come into play. Anyway, that's for next week. We really hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please click on the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe. We'll see you next week. Take care till then.
Goodbye.